It did make me feel panic. At certain points I should feel panic. Well, I'm so easy to panic. Hey guys, it's Nicole. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe for more book-related content. My plan for this year is to start doing monthly reading wrap-ups. Let me know if that's something you guys want. It's something that I kind of thought about doing before, but just ended up saving for a yearly wrap-up. I would still do a yearly wrap-up, just maybe a little bit differently, like kind of what I'm doing this year, where I just summarize each one quickly. And like I told you guys I would do, I cleared out this shelf back here. Currently, it's kind of like a cat bed because I don't have any new books to put there. So I'm going to do an organizing my bookshelves video. That'll be really fun because everything is color organized and I don't like that anymore. I do plan to do some reading vlogs as well. I don't think I've ever done one actually, now that I think about it, but I'm gonna step up my game with that side of my niche, I guess. I mostly post like music and book related stuff. Everything's kind of connected by an invisible string of being a Swiftie, if you will. But yeah, I'm really excited for the new year. I had a really good break. I hope you guys have had an amazing start to 2022. I started working out this week and my gluteus maximus is screaming at me. It'll all be worth it if I can get my pre-COVID butt back. So today I'm just going to be reviewing every single book I read last year in one sentence, and I will also include the rating that I gave them. My reading is really sporadic. I'm not someone who only reads young adult. I get interested in like the stuff my mom reads sometimes. Sometimes my grandfather sends me books. Shout out to my grandfather. He understands the assignment. So the first book that I read was Secondhand Time, The Last of the Soviets. Anecdotes from brainwashed people. Socialism equals paradise. Capitalism equals salami we are too proud for. I rated it 5 out of 5 stars. Before anybody makes any assumptions about that review, I just want to say I am not, well, aren't we all capitalists? We don't really have a choice, I guess. I'm not what you maybe think I am based off of that review, but it just seemed like the people in this book, the majority of what they had to complain about with capitalism, it was the salami. The salami that became the staple of the former USSR countries was the devil because it was too much. They didn't need all of that salami. It was a really good book though. That was way more than one sentence. You know what? It's fine. Moving on. A Night at the Nabokov Hotel. 20 contemporary poets from Russia. There was some pretty language used, but overall very abstract. 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't completely understand this. Even my mom couldn't when she read it in the original Russian. Okay, next, I read Harry Potter for the first time. Oh my god, this was a magical experience. I made a full video over all my thoughts reading Harry Potter for the first time. It completely flopped. If you want to watch that, I'll link it in the eye. I started off with the prequel. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. I was kind of confused. It was fun, but the reviews said it would be amazing. 3 out of 5 stars is what I gave it from the first read. I never revisited it. I probably should. Next is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. The plot could have been a little more riveting, but it was a great setup for what was to come. 4 out of 5 stars. I hope no one like destroys me for that. The 5 stars do come a little later in the series. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. The wilder plot lines and further established characters made this a little bit better than the first one. 4 out of 5 again. Maybe probably more like 4.5 out of 5. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This one is probably my favorite one in the entire series now that I look back, because it is a roller coaster that you almost need to take notes for. Yeah, okay, this is 5 out of 5, but like I cry though at the same time. It makes me happy and then sad again. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I was reading this one at the time my apartment was flooding for the 3rd time. Do you guys get that association with like what was happening in your life at the time you were reading certain books, or is that just me? The way this one encapsulates emotion at the end is indescribable, especially having to do with the way they honor Cedric. That's a whole sentence, but I want to say more. Fuck. Okay, I'm just gonna say a little more. It's Harry Potter. Sometimes in books like these, they just like kill off characters quickly and they're never talked about again, but he was really respected and honored and discussed at the end, and that's what really, I think, leads into this feeling of hope and also the weird sadness that lingers afterward. God, it's hard to describe, but 5 out of 5. Not as good as Azkaban, but also another 5 out of 5, if that makes sense. Ooh, something so satisfying about a thick-ass book in your hands. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I only wrote like 2 sentences anyways. I am so betrayed by the death in this one is what I wrote. It also had an amazing plot. All of the plots are crazy. You like need to have a map of shit that happens. 5 out of 5 again, but they just get worse as they go on, like for your mental state. That was not part of the review, by the way, because that was a critique of the entire series. They get worse, but they get better, but they get worse. Reading my notes on this, I just want to scream. Okay, I'm just going to read you exactly what I wrote, which is pretty much one sentence. I want to climb into this book and personally slit Snape's throat. And Albus sure puts the dumb in Dumbledore. 5 out of 5. This is obviously before things are like uncovered within this book. Things are not what they seem until the very last one, which we're about to get into. These books were really the highlight of my year, taking place during like the worst points of my year, which is sad considering it was the last semester of my college experience. But Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, you will not be bored when you read this one because there are great twists happening, especially at the end. But it was super bittersweet and also the best one, but also the worst one because it's just so much death. I wish I could forget the things that I experienced from this book. 5 out of 5 stars again. I have so much love for this series. I still think Prisoner of Azkaban is probably my favorite because, as I said, the Deathly Hallows like would be the best, but it's just also so much the worst because it hurts so bad. Okay, then I read Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. It's kind of fun, but it's nothing like the rest, and I don't like that it ends with calling Snape brave. I think that's a fair review. 3 out of 5 stars. Fantastic beasts and where to find them. While having amazing illustrations and visual textures, some people are going to be really into that, like I was. It gave me a better visual understanding of Harry Potter and also made me very excited because there is a wizarding school in North America that I don't think is mentioned in the books, and it's also the one that is closest to me, so it just gave me, you know, some good old-fashioned false hope. 5 out of 5 stars. Then I read Quidditch Through the Ages. The illustrations are amazing and Quidditch is super fun to watch, and I loved seeing the history for how it came to be. 5 out of 5. The Tales of Beetle the Bard. This had such cute little fairy tales and also notes from Dumbledore included, and the illustrations were amazing, especially the ones of Dumbledore because they were very cute. 5 out of 5 stars. Okay, now it gets weird. Okay, where did I put... I'm so sick of myself. Oh, my gluteus maximus. The Road to Wigan Pier by George Orwell. The first half bored me a little, even though that's the part that most people typically like, because it had a lot of numbers and dry explanations of how things were. But the second half was a lot of stream of consciousness, socialist theorizing, which reminds me of the way I think about things, so that's why I resonated with the second half more. But yeah, because I flew through the second half and found the first half a little bit dry, it just kind of rounded up to like a 4 out of 5. So yeah, it was pretty interesting. My grandfather just understands the assignment. I love when he sends me stuff to read. Junji Ito's Cat Diary. It made me cry a little bit. It was one of the cutest mangas I've ever read. To be fair, I haven't read a lot though, and I found it very interesting that it was done by someone who usually creates horror mangas, and the fact that he created something that was just so adorable and embodied cats so well. 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, then I went back to kind of like the middle grade sort of thing. Oh my god, the Olivia Kidney series. I love this series so much. I read this as a child. These are so good, you guys. This is such a good middle grade book that deals with grief and several amazing characters and experiences, including ghosts, and it made me tear up. Yeah, it's not like spooky ghosts, but it's like there's grief, there's nostalgia, there's a lot of mature topics, honestly, but I think it's handled really well for a child's book. 5 out of 5. Then I read the next book in that series, Olivia Kidney and the Exit Academy. I love that this is a middle grade book that doesn't shy away from some heavier topics and handles them really well. Topics such as death and ghosts and really interesting concepts surrounding that. This was another 5-star. Olivia Kidney and The Secret Beneath the City. The only thing I would have changed about this one is having the little pair that gets together at the end kiss. It cuts off very fast. It was still great. Lots of fun ghost themes and murder and haunted subway tunnels, which was super atmospheric and exciting. 5 out of 5. It's kind of following the trend of like middle grade. I decided I wanted to do a video over these books. I'm kind of regretting it now because I still haven't finished. I took a break and never returned. I'm discussing the Warrior Cat series. Did any of you guys read these as a child? It's such a soap opera. I'm just gonna review each one quickly. I'm gonna go more in depth in a later video if you guys want that. that. I might just like sack the idea. Okay, so the very first one I read on a Soviet train, which I think influences my perspective because it's just I want to escape from that physical state. So Into the Wild. This made me think of Animal Farm a little because there is a government system and a hierarchy, and the interest does snowball as the book goes on. 4 out of 5. Fire and Ice. It had a lot of interesting plot points, but also just like no direction. 3 out of 5. Forest of Secrets. Okay, I had a lot of emotions at this one, but the title really fits the plot points of the book. There's a horrible, horrible villain you love to hate, and this one gets really dramatic. 4 out of 5. Rising Storm. Forest fires, senile cats, betrayal, and very strong character development and overall themes. This one had more direction, but it starts off slow and only really kicks up in the last 50 pages. I did rate it 4 out of 5 stars though. A Dangerous Path. This was the only 5-star one, and I have read, what, like 30 of these? I'm just gonna sum it up with this had no business being so amazing, and it was my favorite one so far. It still has yet to be beaten. I'm not gonna recommend this series because it's just way too time consuming, and overall they're just like not that good. Maybe I'm biased because I didn't read these when I was younger. If you're gonna read one, just read the first 6 books, I guess. That doesn't take too long, and it's the best arc. There's 6 books in each arc, and there are a lot of arcs. Just read the first one. I don't think I needed to continue after that. 5 out of 5. And then we have the last one in this arc, The Darkest Hour. Very good representation of a dictatorship, but overall it ends in a way you don't expect it to, and it's pretty unsatisfying and random. 4 out of 5. The Sun Trail. This is a prequel to the whole series. So 6 more books that happen before the whole thing even starts, I guess. God, this one was so slow. These 6 books, they were so slow. This was okay, but just not riveting. 3 out of 5. Thunder Rising. It's taking a long time to explain how the setup for the books came to be, and there's not a whole lot of aha moments that I was expecting. 3 out of 5. The First Battle. This one was better than the last ones because I actually found myself to be sad at a character death, and there are so many character deaths in the series, so when one touches you, it's like kind of surprising, at least for me. And there was a complex character who was explored more, and also a pretty decent climax, so either 3.5 or 4 stars. The Blazing Star. This one was okay, and the climax wasn't that exciting, but I could relate to the whole cat plague after experiencing a pandemic myself, so that was interesting. Yeah, there has to be like quarantining, which was an experience. 3 out of 5. A Forest Divided. This is when it gets really soap opera-y. Oh my god. I think I am gonna make a video about these, but I'm gonna sum them up. I don't want it to be an hour-long video. I can't do that to you guys or me, but I want to talk about the weird shit. What is this? Oh god, I hate this bitch. Okay, there is a horrible female cat here who like seduces one cat and then just like betrays him and goes after his father. And then she gets taken hostage and they have to try to get her back, and it's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. This is crazy. 4 out of 5. I guess kind of enjoyable because it's just like, what? But like, what? Don't read this. Path of Stars. There were some weird loose ends at the end. This was the last one in the arc, but the last chapter was the best part. It was really bittersweet and rounded up the story behind the actual full series itself. Finally, we get some kind of explanation and setup. Why did we have those previous 5 books? I feel like when you do a prequel, you really just need 1 book. Like, why do you need 6 books as a prequel? 4 out of 5. Okay, next is the second arc in the main storyline, Midnight. I like the badger that talks like Yoda. She's weird. But I was kind of disappointed because this had to do with the ocean and them having to like travel to the ocean. And I thought there would be like a tsunami that the stars were warning them about, but like that didn't happen. And it took a very long time to get what I wanted out of this book, just to get to the ocean in the first place. This didn't make a whole lot of sense, if I remember correctly. I rated it 4 out of 5. I really like the ocean. I'm biased. Moonrise. This one was paced well, and I liked the twist that happens in it, and I also enjoyed the point of view switching that happens. 4 out of 5. Dawn. One of my favorite characters is kidnapped, essentially, which sucks, and it was a bit slow and not much happened. 3 out of 5. Starlight. Plot holes like crazy, and the forbidden love trope is getting tired, but there's a quote that I really enjoy from this one. It's all a bit strange, isn't it? But this is as strange as it will ever feel. Remember that. This was about a territory for fictional talking cats, but it got me fucked up personally. I feel like it was a sign to step out of my comfort zone. Yeah, you can just take that for what it is. 3 out of 5. Twilight. Twilight. Oh, the climax was really good, and they didn't repeat a storyline in this one, which happens a lot since they're literally a group of cats, and I don't think there's a whole lot you can do with that setup. 4 out of 5. It was one of the more original ones, I guess. Sunset. This one was slow and getting predictable. 3 out of 5. The Sight. This one has a really whiny main character, but luckily there are like 3 main characters in this arc, and it was mostly just about finding your place in a group setting and accepting what you are capable of doing, even if it's not what others are capable of doing, and that makes you jealous, I guess. Maybe this is kind of a good theme for like kids, but also it's like a really bad role model main character because he's just so whiny. He takes so long to accept it. 3 out of 5. This felt uninspired and unoriginal. 3 out of 5. Outcast. This made it seem like a lot of stuff was happening, and yet nothing was happening at all. 3 out of 5. The annoying main character from earlier becomes more and more tolerable, and he starts to use dark humor, which is appreciated, and I like how the title connected with the actual event happening in this book. But it's still 3 out of 5. Long Shadows. It had me feeling emotions. There were like 5 climaxes during the whole book, and it was really chaotic because it was kind of like the Maori show, Maori, where it's like, you're not the father, but surprise, I'm not the mother either. And then there's a lot of chaos where the like non/adoptive mom kills an incel. There's a really Lenin reminiscent Kami feeling cat who like runs away. There's a lot going on. It's very campy. It kind of gives you the same joy that like Twilight, like by Stephanie Meyer, does, because it's just like ridiculous. 4 out of 5. Sunrise. This one dragged and just ended weird. There is a cat in here who really needs to go to cat therapy. 3 out of 5. Okay, then I took a break, thank God. Harry Potter Knitting Magic. I couldn't stay away. I would have liked this more if it had like exact outfits, I guess. But it had a lot of like inspired pieces from objects in the films or environments. But otherwise, there were really nice patterns in here. I just wish it was a little more beginner friendly. 5 out of 5. The Apartment, A Century of Russian History. This is a book that shows Russian history through the lens of an apartment throughout 100 years. And it's so visually stimulating. Like, people who are visual learners, I think, will really enjoy this. It's not slow. It's very riveting. Anyways, 5 out of 5. Okay, God, now it's back to the cat shit. The Fourth Apprentice. This felt like another one that just didn't have much happening in it, but it was still as long as the other ones that had more happening in it, so I feel like they could have just cut this one in half. But there is a likable character, so that's nice, but it 3 stars. Fading Echoes. There was one concept to do with nature that was kind of interesting, but overall it just felt like filler and it wasn't necessary. A lot of people say this arc is the worst. 2 out of 5. Night Whispers. The whole book and the whole last book was kind of just leading up to this huge final battle that ends in the destruction of everything, but that battle just continues to not happen. It dragged a lot. 2 out of 5. Sign of the Moon. This arc and the last arc could have been combined into one and made a lot stronger and more concise. It's predictable and it's long, and I rated it 1 star. The Forgotten Warrior. The communist is back. I hope my mom didn't hear me yell that in the middle of the night. She's gonna have like war flashbacks. She lived in communism. There's a little bit progress made, and it was the best one in the arc, but still just 3 stars. The Last Hope. This feels like it should have been the very end of all of it, but there is still more, which is disappointing, and it was 3 stars. Even though what happens is kind of something that the entire series builds up to and is inevitable, it just wasn't done that well. 3 stars. Okay, now we shift onto my kick of, how you say, my little OCD breakdown I had in like September, and I ordered a ton of books from the library, either with characters who have OCD or how to overcome OCD, like self-help books basically. The Healthy Compulsive, Healing Obsessive Compulsive Personality Disorder, and Taking the Wheel of the Driven Personality. I was undecided whether I had OCD or OCPD, 2 completely different things. It was good, but not as straightforward as I might have preferred. 4 stars. The Anxiety and Phobia Workbook. Okay, so the first half was super helpful, and it was full of different breathing techniques and coping mechanisms. It had a stress on like meditation and things before becoming like dependent on medication. Like, what can you do before you get to that point? What can you try? But then he really lost me in the second half because he just started talking about religion and like global warming. And as someone who obsesses over things, you know, if I'm trying to figure out how to calm down, I don't want to read about global warming. That's just not, that was weird. Yeah, I got really distracted towards the end because I started doing internet research for like when are we all gonna die? And that was exactly what I wanted to stop doing by reading this book. So I gave it 3 stars. I think I'm a little bit too nice with my ratings, but like the first half was helpful, so it was just conflicted. The Man Who Couldn't Stop. Okay, so this showed people with OCD to a very extreme extent. There were a lot of interesting studies in this one and history of like mental health solutions, I guess, which is kind of sad to read about, but at least I didn't obsess. 4 out of 5. The Imp of the Mind. This was nothing that special, but it had a few interesting points. It really focused on intrusive thoughts and urges people feel they may succumb to. 3 out of 5. Stop Obsessing. How to Overcome Your Obsessions and Compulsions. I can't speak. This one did not screw around at all, and I appreciated that. I don't need a whole lot of background. I just don't. I've been researching the shit out of this. It was very specific and detailed, and it also had a really short, simple, digestible plan that anybody can kind of do to immediately try to recover. 4 out of 5. I read a book with a character who has OCD. It was called OCD Love Story. This is the ugliest book cover I have ever seen, I think. There is a character named Cooter. There's a character named Cooter. I'm going to be posting a full review of this book probably next month because I had a lot of thoughts. Like, God, there's so many notes. The main character was really unlikable and there were some things that were just like weird as shit. But I was impressed that with a character who is this unlikable, the book itself is not terrible. That's impressive. It's really bad at first, but it does get better. 3 out of 5. Getting Over OCD, a 10-step workbook for taking back your life. This was when I found out about cognitive behavioral therapy and all the different techniques you can use. And I loved the attention to detail in this book. Yeah, 4 out of 5. My mom was reading this, so I stole it from her afterwards. In Order to Live, a North Korean girl's journey to freedom. This is crazy, but amazing and much better than the YouTube channel she has because it's like weird, libertarian backed. Propaganda. 5 out of 5. The Perfect Son. This had a character who was dealing with obsessive compulsive personality disorder. I like that guy's development, but there was a death that I don't think had to happen. It was just done really weirdly. Yeah, 3 out of 5. Every Last Word. I have to make this longer than 1 sentence. I've seen bad reviews of this one because this character does not only deal with OCD, but like hallucinations. It doesn't completely figure out what she also has by the end of the book. I assume that's something that happens when the book is finished, which is kind of bad on the author's part because I feel like it needs to be explained that hallucinations are not a symptom of OCD, and some people, you know, if you have OCD and you're reading this, you can start to obsess over the fact that what if I'm hallucinating things that I'm seeing, but that is not a symptom of OCD. This character has something else going on, and they do say that, but it's very brief, so I do kind of understand the criticism. But yeah, it's like, it's nice to have a character with OCD, but it's like, yeah, we do deserve better, so I kind of agree. But yeah, it is explained. This is not a symptom of OCD. There is something else going on there, but they just never figure it out by the time the book ends. It had some nicely written parts and good pacing, but they do mention intrusive thoughts in the beginning, which are really relatable to a lot of people with OCD who are probably reading this book, and then they're never mentioned again, which is disappointing. Yeah, not fully developed. 3 out of 5 stars. Sara and the Search for Normal. Okay, so this character does not deal with OCD, just like anxiety, bipolar disorder, lots of other mental health issues. This is a prequel to another book that I read. This was probably one of the best representations of mental health that I saw. It was accurate. This is an anxious person and it's really good. The writing style wasn't my favorite and it wasn't really that riveting, but good representation. I rated it 3 out of 5 stars because I just wasn't that interested, but like I loved the character. Ocdaniel. So this has a character who has OCD who meets the character from the previous book. This also had some of the best representation of OCD I've seen in a book. Very accurate, very straight to the point. There is no other mental illness that kind of bogs it up, I guess. It's just straight OCD. That's what this person is dealing with. And again, I wasn't riveted by the story and writing style. The plot and characters were not that great. The adults were all trash, but the OCD itself, just really good representation. 3 out of 5. I feel bad giving it a 3 out of 5 because it's just such a good representation, but it's just like not that exciting. It's just something I would recommend to somebody who's also struggling with this, but like if you're not that interested in the topic, probably not. Unfuck Your Brain. I was really excited about this one, but it ended up just being all right. And there were some approaches to addiction that I never considered before. It wasn't really relevant to me, but I liked the casual tone and profanity, but some people may not and have not based on the reviews I saw. 3 out of 5. It wasn't that helpful. We can't keep meeting like this. This had a character who had like very, very, very mild OCD. It mostly kind of talks about, I guess, like depression. It's a romance. It's really cute, lovely, well written. This is the kind of plot people write songs about, and I did. If you want to listen to it, it's in my like live miss videos. I'll link it if I remember. It's the live that is titled like Want to Hear a Song I Wrote 10 minutes ago. The Weight of Our Sky. Okay, so this is like a historical, not fiction, because this was a real event. Ah, God, my legs. This character has OCD that is untreated. I don't think she even knows she has it. No, she doesn't, because it's like viewed as something with like a spiritual basis. But yeah, it goes untreated because this takes place in the 60s and in Asia. Malaysia, to be specific. I really liked this one. It was well written and interpreted OCD in a really good, accurate way, but it wasn't making me feel much when this is such an emotional event that happened in history and such an emotional story. And I feel like there were parts I should have cried at, but I just didn't. It did make me feel panic. At certain points I should feel panic. But, well, I'm so easy to panic. 4 out of 5. The rest of us just live here. I didn't understand any of this at all because the author sought out to write from the perspective of like the background characters, and that's what he did. They were just background characters. They had very complex issues, relationships with their parents, mental health, coming of age, sorts of things, but it was just all so forgettable. But the characters were diverse, so there's a point for him. I also really like the title. It could have been done so well. The rest of us just live here. Like the chosen ones are off doing their thing, and it's like the background characters, the extras of the story. And it could have been really fascinating, but it just wasn't. They were the background characters, and it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's not going to be interesting. 3 out of 5. Next, I read 5 Feet Apart. Okay, the movie says that the female character has OCD. It's very brief. It's not talked about a whole lot. She has bigger fish to fry. She has cystic fibrosis. In the book, it doesn't say that at all. She just has kind of like signs of someone who has OCD, I guess. But anyways, my review is the writing was really nice and the pacing was great, as well as the character development and the alternating points of view. I really liked that, but it didn't make me cry too much, and it didn't wreck me like The Fault in Our Stars did, but it made me think of The Fault in Our Stars. Yeah, the movie was better. And then I found out that the movie was created first and the book was supposed to accompany the movie, so that's why I was very surprised that the movie was better. The movie's so good. 4 out of 5 for the book, 5 out of 5 for the movie. Number 69, the last book I read last year. When Panic Attacks, the new drug-free anxiety therapy that can change your life. This was the best self-help book I've ever read. I almost didn't read it because I had read so many by this point and I was getting tired of it, and I almost just sent it back to the library, but I'm so freaking glad I opened this one. This guy is very old, but he's very open-minded. He doesn't like push drugs. I appreciate that because I'm scared of drugs. I mean, that's a very personal decision, but oh, the coping mechanisms he was explaining, this one hit and it's stuck. I want to like buy this book now. It also discusses relapse and says it's okay to relapse with mental health issues, and it's 100% going to happen. The thing is to know how to deal with that. And this was the only book that like talked about that and made it seem like it was an okay thing to happen, and that was appreciated. 5 out of 5. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what other book videos you want to see. If you want to follow me on my Instagram, it is right here. And if you want to follow me on my TikTok, that is right here. I will see you all next week for another video, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye guys.